Go ahead, Avraham.
Which line?
Fifth line, please.
Ma, granddaughter.
Okay. All right. Where should go to school?
No, it goes to Toledo, an hour away from where we live.
All right.
She went to Bethlehem.
Okay. All righty. Hi, Dan. Hi, Michelle. Okay. So if you look at the cover of the handout that I gave you, and for those of you not here, if you want us to send it to you, just email the office and we'll gladly send you a copy. This is a list of all of the Torah portions in the entire year. No, the other side. A list of the entire Torah portions of the entire year. So the whole year. And on the right side is Bereshit, Genesis, that we just finished this past Shabbos. Parshat Vayechi was the last portion in Genesis. Underneath that, on the right side, is Shemos, Exodus, and these are the names of all the portions. And in the middle, on the top, is Leviticus, Vayikra, and underneath that is Bamidbar, Numbers, and on the left side is Deuteronomy, Devarim. See, these are the 5 books of Moses. All of the parshas are written. You know, it's okay. You don't have to have. Sometimes they use it more, sometimes they use it less. Thanks. These are all the portions that are written in the Torah scroll, handwritten by the scribe, and these are the Torah portions that we go through the entire year, usually doing one, sometimes 2, but usually 1 portion per week. Besides when it's a holiday, so then we supersede the regular Torah reading, we do the holiday instead. So this week, we're starting Chumash Shemos, that's on the lower right side, and the first portion is the name Shemos, the portion is Shemos. So the first portion has the same name as the Chumash that we're starting. So it's Chumash Shemos that we're starting. If you look on the second page, you'll see that it's it's chapter 1, verse 1. So when we start the chapters, when we start the chapters, we start over from chapter 1 again. So each Chumash, each one of the 5 books, we start the chapters from back to 1. So this week is going to be chapter 1, verse 1 from Chumash Shemos, from the book of Exodus. In the art scroll, if you're looking for it, Avraham, it's page 292.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I have it.
I didn't say, but your father looked like he didn't have it, so I gave it to him.
Oh.
That's all. A number of verses in the Parsha is 124. There are no commandments, but there's a lot going on in the Parsha, so we're going to learn about that. So it's funny because unrelated to what you were saying, Jonathan, about AI, there was a few movies done about the Exodus and what's wrong with them. And the list goes on because Hollywood's trying to sell movies, not trying to give you Torah facts. So a lot of the stuff is pretty badly distorted.
What's the worst one?
I don't know. I didn't watch them, but just anything I see about any of this stuff I know is bad news. So don't rely on Hollywood to teach you what Judaism is about. To date myself, Charlton Heston was not really Moses, just to let you know. All right. But
I watched, wait, can I say something funny?
Go ahead.
The 10 Commandments.
Yes.
I watched that movie with my grandpa, and it was really funny because we watched it on YouTube, and I was like trying to figure out if it could auto translate to thingy, and it couldn't. So I'm not very fluent. So I'm trying to explain the movie to him, but it's in caveman speak. It's really you can see him does that think, okay, so he's saying he's doing this and this, so that must mean, oh, it's that.
Okay. Like I said, the best place is to go straight to the source. Okay, so the book of Shemos, the book of Exodus, is known as Sefer HaGeula, the book of redemption, which we're going to find out about. But just as to capsulize, Chumash Bereshit, the book of Genesis that we finished, dealt with the creation of the world and with the creation of the Jewish family. Had the Avos, the patriarchs, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It had the Imos, the mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. It had the 12 tribes. And the end of the story was that the family of the Jewish people went down to Egypt. Parshat Shemot, the book of Exodus, is going to be the portion that deals not with the building of a family, but the nation building, going from a family to a nation, the nation of the Jewish people. So we're going to talk about that. So the Parsha begins letting us know that the entire generation, Yaakov, we know, passed away, Yosef, all of the tribes passed away, but the Jewish people were multiplying and becoming more and more, and sometimes even having 6 children at once. And the new king, so to speak, forgot about Yosef. And I put forgot in parentheses.
What page?
I'm not on any page, I'm on my notes. The papers in front of you are just for reference and learning later on if you'd like. How could you forget about Yosef? He was a key player in saving it, but that happens. And all of a sudden, the Pharaoh was nervous about the Jewish people. He was afraid there would be a 5th column. Does this sound familiar, this problem? And the answer is, of course, yes, because this is a common theme. When the United States went into Iraq, there were those that were blaming the Jewish lobby for that, which even though the Israelis told the U.S. not to do it, but that didn't stop COVID, Jews' fault. This 5th column excuse is something that goes on all the time. And the Jewish people, though, on the other hand, many of them had started copying Egyptian culture and being like the Egyptians, with some exceptions. One is that they kept their Jewish names. 2 is their language. They spoke Lashon HaKodesh, the Holy Tongue, and also the way they spoke was a little bit more refined. 3, their dress, they had a more refined way and Jewish way of dressing. And 4, acts of loving kindness. So actually what we're going to be learning about the next few weeks is going to relate strongly to the holiday of Pesach, Passover, as we're going to see, as we're going to get into. But in any event, the Egyptians had a problem with the Jewish people becoming more, and they were worried that there would be a 5th column, an enemy would attack, and the Jews would join them. And the solution initially was servitude, hard labor, making their lives bitter. Vayimoraru es chayayim. They made their lives bitter. And what word does that sound like? Anyone know? Mara, very good. The bitter herbs that we eat Pesach night to remind us of how bitter their life was under the Egyptians. And what's interesting is the harder they worked them, the more the Jews were becoming, which is counterintuitive. Usually it should be less, not more. But that's part of the miracle of Jewish survival, is this idea of, thank you, this idea of that no matter what happens, the Jewish people will survive. Individuals may not make it, but the Jewish people as a whole will survive. So what happened was that the more they made them work, the more the Jews were becoming, and the Egyptians were frustrated. So the Pharaoh called in 3 advisors about what should we do with the Jewish problem. And the 3 advisors were Bilam, Eov, Job, and Yisro. and he asked him, what do you think we should do with the Jews? And Yisro said, I'm sorry?
Tell them.
Nope.
All the firstborn.
Yisro said, nope. Yisro said, leave them alone, because people who start up with the Jewish people, it doesn't end up well. The previous Pharaoh wanted to marry Sarah, the matriarch, and he was hit with a plague. Avimelech, the same thing. So, but Yisro said this, but he saw Pharaoh was not a happy camper about this. And he decided that his time is going to be very limited. Before I go on, I'm going to interrupt with Avraham. You asked me some questions last week, and I meant to answer them. I did a little homework for you. You asked me, why didn't they leave when Yaakov left? Why didn't the tribes leave? And one of the answers is that Pharaoh didn't let them take their families when they went to the funeral. They wanted to take their families, and he didn't let them, so they had to come back. That's one of the answers. There are other answers too, but another answer to your other question was about embalming them. Again, it was before the Torah was given. A and B, Yosef, that was the tradition in Egypt that leaders were embalmed. A and B, the righteous sometimes don't decay, and he didn't want them to see that, because they would maybe not let him go, because, oh wow, his body's not decaying, he must be a holy person. So he had to say, let's just do the embalming, so this way they're not going to see that part of it. So he would be able to take him out later to keep his promise. So just a side thing. So Yisro was the one who said, don't do it, but he saw that Pharaoh was not happy with his advice, so he decided to get out of town before sundown, if you remember the old Western thing, and he escaped and went to Midian.
It's the same Bilam that we see.
Yisro, not Bilam, Yisro.
But the Bilam that you said.
Yes, the same Bilam, and they were saying, Bilam, the wicked, he said, oh, I know them well. Get rid of them, kill them, and throw the babies into the river.
What about Queen Esther though?
Queen Esther, wrong country, wrong time period.
But didn't she marry the king?
She didn't marry the king. She was forced to marry him. And therefore what? What does that have to do with what we're talking about now? Okay, but that's a little later in history.
Yeah.
When we get to Purim, we'll talk more about Queen Esther. But in any event,
That's my ancestor.
so what happened was, then there was Eov, the third advisor, and Eov remained silent. He didn't say anything. So what ended up happening is, we've talked about this concept before, measure for measure. Now, what we do has an impact, and Yisro, who risked his life to try to save the Jews, he was rewarded that his offspring would become part of the Jewish court. Later on, we're going to find out that his son-in-law was going to be Moshe. Bilam, who counseled against the Jewish people to be killed, will eventually be killed by the Jewish people. And Eov, who was silent, he had suffering. Job, the famous Job, he suffered. And the commentaries ask, wow, how come he had suffering? He didn't say good, but he didn't say bad, but he didn't say good. And the answer, and the second question is about Job. Had he said, would it made a difference? No. Pharaoh would have done what he wanted to do anyway. But when there's pain, when somebody's in pain, you have to say something, you have to do something. And the right thing to do is to say something. And because Eov didn't, he ended up being punished with suffering. So Pharaoh took the advice of Bilam and did infanticide, which is killing of the boys. Because astrologers said that a boy is going to come and he's going to be a savior of the Jewish people. So he decides to kill all the boys out. And what's interesting is that would leave all the Jewish women this way, and they could marry them. And it's interesting, the Arabs in Israel always try to get Jewish women to marry them, because this way they control them. And I was in Israel several years ago, and I went to a halfway house for women run by a wonderful organization called Pe'ilim that tries to get Jewish women that are abused in Arab villages by their husbands and by the where they are, to get them out, to give them a fresh start someplace else. And it was very sad. What happens is, for the secular Israeli, the Arabs, many of them speak Hebrew, and they don't know, is he secular? Is he a secular Jew, or is he an Arab? I have no idea. So he wines and dines them, and then they want to get married, and they move to the Arab village, and then they're under Muslim law, and they have very little rights, even in Israel, because Muslim law will prevail in the Arab village. So this organization tries, if the woman wants to leave, tries to help them escape with the kids that are Jewish. Their name is Mohammed, and the next day his name is Chaim, because they took him out. Yes.
So, you mean to say the Israeli women, think that they're Jewish because they're speaking Hebrew, and when they get married, don't they see that they have different names?
Well, eventually they see, but they thought he's a nice guy. He wined and dined me. He was fine, and then they moved there, and then
Get married to somebody because they're
And the rabbi married them then.
the rabbi doesn't marry them. They're not married with the rabbi. The rabbi wouldn't marry. Orthodox rabbi won't marry a woman who's marrying a non-Jew. Yes, you have a question?
no. You don't get married to someone because they just wine and dine you one time.
I didn't say one time. Did you hear me say one time? I didn't say one time. But they developed a relationship, and he seems like a nice guy, and let's go.
Do they lie about their name?
I don't know. I'm just telling you, I was at this halfway house. It's connected, that has cameras outside, because sometimes the husbands try to come back and try to
Maybe
get the women out. What?
Most Israelis are Yemenites. Maybe they're just Yemenite.
I don't know. It's not, I don't know if most Israelis are Yemenite, but the bottom line is that it's a big problem, and this organization, like I said, helps Jewish women who want to escape. And it was sad to meet them, because they're nice Jewish girls that unfortunately fell in with the wrong guy and made some mistakes with their lives.
Wait, what is the organization called?
Pe'ilim,
Pe'ilim?
yeah.
Wait,
Pey,
P-E-Y.
probably Elim. That's, I'm guessing, how it's spelled. I'm not sure exactly. In any event, so Pharaoh calls Shifra and Pua. Their real names were Miriam and Yocheved, and Miriam and Yocheved were called, and they were midwives to help Jewish women have babies. And Pharaoh sees that, he tells them, I want you to kill the Jewish babies, boys. Check if it's a baby boy, and I want you to kill them. And this way, the mother won't know right when she's giving birth, because the child could have died in childbirth. And Shifra and Pua, these righteous women, were God-fearing, and they said no. They didn't say that to him. They just took care of the babies very well, and they tried to appease them if they were upset. And Pharaoh called them and said, hey, what are you doing? How come the Jewish boys are living? And they say, you know what? These Jewish women, they're great. They can have kids without us. They don't need us. By the time we get there, they're already holding their baby boys. So we can't make believe that the child died during childbirth. And what's interesting is, how would you describe what Shifra and Pua did? That it was heroic. That would be a good word. Any other descriptions?
Risky.
Risky. Okay. Yes. What else? They were kind, generous, but the Torah describes them as being God-fearing. Why God-fearing? Out of all things, it's kind seems to be the one that's. Did you find the Elim? David,
It's a different organization name. It's not Elam. It's here we go. It's a branch of Lehava which is like, you know, Ben Gavir.
Whatever, we're not
It's
going
a
to go into
branch
it
of
now.
it's
But
called
not gonna,
Yad Lachin.
that may be a different organization. But this was run by people. It's fine. In any event,
Yeah, it's
but
Yad Lachin.
but it says the same concept, though. Same idea of what they're doing. Probably maybe it's a different organization. I don't know. And that Yad La'achim, that's what that is. La'achim. It's a branch of Elam. Yad La'achim. In any event, which means hand for your brother. In any event, they were God-fearing, and we know this from two ways. Number one, what they did was amazing. Why didn't they quit? They could have just quit.
They wanted to save all the Jewish boys, the war.
And one of the answers is yes, they wanted to save the Jewish boys. Maybe the next person that would have been hired would not have been so strong. Kindness in itself is not a proof, because you have to know, we talked about this a little bit last time, there's kindness that is a kindness, and there's kindness that's not a kindness. And this is a particular kindness that was a very brave and bold kindness. And ultimately, they were God-fearing, they're going to be rewarded for that. And therefore, Kohanim and Leviim, priests and Levites, will come from them. So now Pharaoh came up with a new idea. This isn't working. He's going to take the Jewish boys, and throw them into the Nile River. So when this happened, the new sons, the new children that were being thrown into the river to be killed. Yocheved and Amram were married, and this was a terrible decree to have the Jewish babies be killed. So what did Amram declare? Amram declared that everyone should get divorced. No one should have any kids, because they're going to kill the boys. Forget it. We're finished. Yeah.
They firebombed a school, a Jewish and Arab school.
Whoa, where we
like
go?
2015.
Okay, we're not up to that now. We're talking about current events, the Torah today.
Sorry.
It's okay. So what ended up happening is Amram decided that all of the Jewish men should get divorced, and many people copied him. They said, we won't have kids. The Egyptians won't be able to kill him out. So Miriam, his daughter, came to him and said, your decree is worse than Pharaoh's. And he said, why are you saying that? He says, because Pharaoh's is just killing out the boys. By you getting divorced and not having kids, not having relations, and now no girls are going to be born either. And Amram accepted his critique from his daughter and said, okay, we'll get remarried. And he remarried his wife Yocheved, and baby Moshe was born. And Moshe was born premature, so she was able to hide him for a while and nurse him and take care of him. But eventually, she knows that the Egyptians are keeping tabs. They saw that she was pregnant, and when 9 months come, they're going to come check on her. So she took the baby Moshe and put him into a basket and made the basket waterproof and put him by the river. And Miriam watches from the bushes to see what's going to happen. And Basia, the daughter of Pharaoh, comes down, and she sees a basket there. And she reaches out to get it, but it's too far away. But miraculously, her arm stretches out, and she's able to pull the baby in. And the baby is crying. But before we get to what happened next, there's an important idea here. If you know you can't reach it, why do you stretch your arm? Can't reach it. And the lesson for us is important. We have to do ours, and you never know what happens. You just try your best, and beyond logic, and who knows, the Almighty will make good things happen. And that's exactly what happened with Basia. By the way, Basia eventually is going to convert. And the name Basia stands for Baska, the daughter of God. Pharaoh's own daughter is going to become Jewish. That's correct. And what happens is she gives the baby who's crying to a Egyptian nursemaid, and the baby refuses to nurse. And at this point, she realizes it's a Jewish child, and Miriam steps out of the bushes and says, "Would you like me to get a Jewish woman to nurse the baby?" And she says, "Yes." So Miriam goes and calls her mother, and her mother is the one who ends up getting paid by Pharaoh's daughter to take care of this child. Why didn't Moshe nurse from the Egyptian? And our sages tell us a beautiful idea that the one who is going to talk to the Almighty, that's not a person who should nurse from an Egyptian woman, should nurse only from a Jewish woman. And Yocheved is taking care of her son, and after a while, he finishes nursing, whatever is 2 years later, she brings him to Pharaoh's daughter, and Pharaoh's daughter calls the baby Moshe. And the reason is because she drew him out of the water. So even though he had other names, but that's the name that the Almighty wanted to stick because of the loving kindness that Pharaoh's daughter did. And guess what? Moshe is being raised in Pharaoh's palace. It's pretty amazing. He's killing males to save them from being the savior, and the savior is right in his own home. Moshe grows up in the palace, but he feels for his brothers. He knows he's Jewish, and sees their suffering because they're.
So he knows he's Jewish?
Yes, he knows he's Jewish. When did he know? I can't tell you the exact time and date, but remember, his mother took care of him for 2 years to nurse him. So he knew he was Jewish, and he felt for their pain and suffering because the Egyptians were making them work very hard, beating them into servitude. And he comes outside one day and he sees that an Egyptian is about to kill a Jew. And he looks to see if there's any man looking. So the literal interpretation is, does anyone see? In fact, the commentaries say one interpretation, that he's looking to see from this Egyptian, would there ever be a person who would be righteous, who would convert to Judaism? And he saw prophetically that that's not what's going to happen. I'm sorry?
Then his adopted mother stood up for him? No.
No. What adopted mother? No. We're talking about this Moshe coming out and seeing that a Jew is about to be killed. He sees there's no man around, and no man, meaning also deeper, that there's not going to be any. If Moshe saves the Jew by killing this Egyptian, no Jew will come out of this anyway, so he's not stopping that. And on a deeper level, Moshe is saying, now's my choice to decide, who am I? Am I Egyptian, a prince in the palace, or am I a Jew who cares about the Jewish people? And he had to take a stand, and he took a stand, and he killed the Egyptian to save the Jew, and he hid the Egyptian in the ground, and he felt the suffering and did for others, which is the ultimate in Jewish leadership. The next day he comes out and he sees two Jews, thus Avraham, fighting, and he tells them, "Jews fighting? Are you allowed to raise your hand to a fellow Jew?" And they, instead of responding respectfully, they say to him, "Oh, are you going to do to us what you did to the Egyptian?" And Moshe is very, very distraught because he sees that the character traits of these fellows are bad news, and it sort of justifies to him, if he could threaten me with telling me what I did to the Egyptian when I was saving a Jewish life, that doesn't bode well for the Jewish people. Maybe that's why they have all this suffering. And Dathan and Aviram go and tell Pharaoh about what Moshe did, that he killed the Egyptian. And Moshe is captured, and he's about to be beheaded, and miraculously his neck becomes hard, and the blade pops off, and Moshe escapes to Midian. And now no more prince, no more lovely life, but he wanders and ends up with Midian by the well. And when he's there, the daughters of Yisro come to get water from the well to feed his sheep. And Yisro was actually a priest of a different faith, but he was a searcher, and he found the religion was not to his liking. It didn't make sense to him. And he quit. Parenthetically, I'll tell you a fascinating story about a pastor, or I don't know exactly what his term was, in South America, that started delving into Judaism and realized that Christianity is false. So one fine day in his service on a nice Sunday morning, he got up to say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Christianity is false, Judaism is true, and I'm going to convert. Whoever wants to join me is welcome to." And it was like, it caused a real ruckus. And many of his congregations joined him and became Jewish. And obviously other people left because they wanted to remain to be Christian. It was an interesting side story. But Yisro abandoned his religion that he was the priest of, and the people in the town resented it tremendously. So when Yisro's daughters would come to the well, they got poor service. They got pushed away to the end. The people didn't let them get water. But Moshe was there, and he defended them. And he said, "Why can't they get access to the well?" And he helped them get water. And they came back to the house, and the husband said, "Hey," the father said, "Hey, how'd you get here so fast?" He said, "Oh, there was someone from Egypt that helped us out. Let's invite him in." Now, Yisro did something interesting. Yisro, when he left Egypt, took along a stick with him that had Hebrew lettering on it. And he stuck it into his backyard, and no one could take it out. It got stuck. And he had 7 daughters. So he said, "Okay, somebody is worthy to be able to get the stick out. That means he'll be worthy to marry one of my daughters." And everybody tried, and nobody could do it. Yisro tells his daughters, "This guy helped you. Invite him home. Let's give him something to eat." And they invited him to their house. And Moshe walks into the backyard and sees the stick sticking in the ground. He went and pulls it out. Does that sound familiar to you a little bit? That's Excalibur, right? The story is from the Torah originally. Moshe pulled the stick out, and Yisro says, "Oh boy, this must be a special person," and in fact allows Moshe to marry Tzipporah, and he marries his daughter, Yisro's daughter, and he stays there to help take care of Yisro's sheep. And one day, one of the sheep runs away, and Moshe chases him and finds that he was thirsty and and Moshe says, "I see you were thirsty. That's why you ran away." He doesn't get angry, and just the opposite. "You must be tired from running away from me. You're thirsty. Come, let me carry you back." And God says in heaven, "I see you know how to take care of the sheep. I'll let you take care of my sheep." Which are God's sheep? The Jewish people. Very good. That's right. So God appears to Moshe in a burning bush, in a thorn bush, and reveals himself and say, "I am God." Now, why in the world would God appear in a thorn bush? It would seem to be logical God would appear in a beautiful orchard and a most beautiful, pick your favorite tree. Yes.
Because the Jewish soul is fiery, but the road of the Jew is bumpy and it's hard.
Okay, so why is God appearing in a thorn bush? And the answer, you're on the right track, but the answer is because God is with us in our suffering. The Jewish people suffering in the land of Egypt, God didn't want to appear in a beautiful orchard. He's going to appear in a thorn bush that, so to speak, is prickling God. Not really, but so to speak, because God is feeling the pain of the Jewish people. And he appears to Moshe, and Moshe's like, whoa. Moshe is told, God tells him, take your shoes off, you're standing in a holy place. That mountain would, by the way, eventually be Mount Sinai where the Torah was given. Interestingly enough, there is a stone that you find there. You can find it in Arizona also. It's not just on Sinai, but a stone that if you crack it open, there's a drawing of a bush in it. Again, this really, and you can find it in America too. It's not that uncommon, but it happens to be on that mountain. You can find these stones that have, you crack it open, there's a drawing of a bush in it. I'll have to do research for you about it, but it's cute. But that's not here or there, but it's just a cute thing. In any event, God speaks to Moshe and tells him, I want you to go down to Egypt I want you to go down to Egypt and speak to Pharaoh and tell him to let the Jewish people out. Let the people go out of the land of Egypt. And Moshe doesn't take the job quickly. He's, no, why me? First of all, I don't speak well. I have a lisp and I can't speak well. By the way, one of the reasons that Moshe had a lisp was an interesting medrash. The oral Torah tells us that when he was little and he was hanging out as a baby, he was hanging out in the palace. He took off Pharaoh's crown off Pharaoh's head and put it on his own. And some people were laughing and say, "Oh, look at that, it's funny." And other people saying, "Oh, this baby is gonna try to take away the crown from you when he grows up," which is a little bit of a silly thing to say for a little baby to do something like that, to assume that. But in any event,
different story.
Hold on. Just save it for afterwards, okay? And then what happened was they decided to make a test. They'll put shiny coins and diamonds in one bowl and red hot coals in the other that are really bright. And we'll see what he goes for. If he goes for the diamonds and the jewels, then they know that he knows what he's doing. And when he took the crown off, it's symbolic of something for the future. If he goes for the hot coals, which says it's glittery and glowing, then we know he's silly. He doesn't know what he's doing. So Moshe was put in front of the two bowls and he started going for the diamonds. God sent an angel and pushed his hand into the hot coals and went, ah! And he burned himself and burned his tongue at that time. And they said, oh, you see, he was a silly dilly. He didn't know what he was doing. And that's why he touched the coals. But God sent the angel down to do that so that he should be spared. In any event, Moshe is arguing, I can't speak well. I'm not a good person to take it. And why me? And then he also says, why not my brother Aaron? My brother Aaron, who's older, and he's been leading the Jewish people the entire time. Moshe didn't want to hurt Aaron's feelings. God is telling him, I'm giving you the job, and Moshe was denied. But eventually, God tells him Aaron will be happy that you're the one, and Moshe says this mountain is going to be the place why they're going to be taken out of Egypt, not just to be free. They're going to be taken out of Egypt to get the Torah, to receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. That's why they're being taken out. Because the Jewish people will be receiving the Torah at Mount Sinai. And Moshe says, they won't believe me. And God is upset that Moshe said that. What do you mean they won't believe you? You want to say maybe they won't believe you? Fine. You spoke badly about them. That's Lashon Hara, speaking ill about other people. So God gives him three signs. One is a stick. He says, take the stick, your stick, and throw it down, and it turns into a snake, and hold on to the tail, and it goes back into a stick. And the second one is he puts his hand in, and it turns white like leprosy, and then puts it back and goes back. And by the way, these things are reminding Moshe of the evil he spoke about the Jewish people. The serpent spoke badly about God, and the leprosy-like disease was one of the punishments for speaking ill about other people. So he's reminding him, you shouldn't have said that the Jewish people won't believe you. You can say maybe they will, maybe they won't. And a third sign was pouring water on the ground that it turned into blood. And ultimately, God said, don't worry, Aaron will help you. Aaron will speak for you as well. Just as an aside, many years ago, I had given a lecture to some deaf people, a Torah lecture, some deaf people, and it was interesting. They had someone who was doing sign language. So they asked me, what's it like teaching us? So I said, to be honest, I'm not used to speaking and everyone's looking at the person who's signing. So that's different. Second of all, I have no idea what he's talking about. For all I know, he's talking about the sports game. Just as an aside to the aside, it was a Purim party and they had a magician. And the magician was able to sign. He knew sign language. That's how he was able to perform for them. So I asked them, other than knowing sign language, was there any other difference between your magician's act and to a regular audience, to anybody, than to regular people? And he said, yes, because since the people can't hear, their seeing is sharper. And they're able to I have to do my tricks faster because they're able to determine them better than regular people. I thought that was very interesting. I don't know. In any event, so I had a couple there. They were both deaf. And they said we had a child who was able to hear. So we named him Aaron. Just like in the Torah, Aaron would be the speaker for Moshe. So our son Aaron will be our speaker for us. Because people who are born deaf cannot speak well either. So I thought it was I was very touched by that. So what happens is Moshe says, okay, I'll go down. And he goes to Yisro and he says, I need permission. I'd like to leave to see my people and see what I could do to help them. And Yisro grants it. And Tzipporah comes along with him with her two sons. And an angel wants to kill Moshe because he didn't circumcise his son. So Tzipporah goes and saves the day and saves him by circumcising his son. Aaron is truly happy to see Moshe, as Hashem had predicted. And Aaron was of such a fine character trait that even though he was the older brother, he was happy that Moshe was going to get the leadership role. But he tells Moshe, don't bring Tzipporah and your children down with you. We're trying to get the Jews out of Egypt, and bringing more Jews in is not a good idea. So he listens to his brother, and Tzipporah and Gershom and Eliezer are sent back up to Yisro. Moshe comes down and he talks to the elders, and he goes to Pharaoh, and which God is your God? He said, the God, the creator of the heaven and earth. In my books I have all different gods. I don't see your God there. It says, my God is not in a book. My God is in life, in the world. And Pharaoh doesn't want to listen to them. And on the contrary, what he does is just the opposite. He makes things more difficult. They're making bricks to build these storage cities. Now Pharaoh says, we're not giving you straw. Now you have to keep the quota up, even though the straw, even though you have to get your own straw. And the Jews were very upset about this. And the work gets even harder for the Jewish people that are suffering under the Egyptian whip. By the way, parenthetically, I had a lovely couple that used to come to classes. The blessed memory, they passed away already. And he said he went to a tour of Egypt. And when they went to some of the pyramids, the tour guide said, people think that the pyramids were made by Egyptian slaves. It's not true. It was farmers volunteering during the off season. So this fellow, Mr. Plotky of blessed memory, says to me, the hieroglyphs show the Egyptians with whips in their hands. So I said, did you say anything? He says, I wasn't going to say anything. I wanted to get out of Egypt. So I said to him, you're a better man than me. I would have opened my big mouth. I would have said, hello, sir, the hieroglyphics show that the Egyptian taskmasters had whips in their hands. It was very funny. But in any event,
Wasn't the pyramids built before the?
I don't know when the Jews, I don't know. I'm not saying the Jews built it. I'm just telling you what the Egyptian tour guide said, that it was built that was not built by the slaves, but the hieroglyphics seem to indicate otherwise. Whether the Jews were the ones who actually built it or not, I have no idea. I wasn't there. I can't tell you. So things get more difficult, and people come to and Moshe does all the signs to the Jewish people to believe in God's going to help them and save them, and things got worse before they got better. And the Jews are disappointed. I said, Moshe, what'd you come for? Like, this is... And Moshe is upset, and he complains to God too. And he says, God, you sent me down to make things better, and now things are worse. And that's how the portion ends, with Moshe, the Jewish people not being happy, Moshe not being happy, but it's all part of God's plan, which we'll get to, God willing. And part of it, by the way, is that the exile was supposed to be longer, and it was shortened because of how bitter the Egyptians did it to make it so much harder that it was concentrated. But in any event, we'll leave it for next time. Questions, comments, thoughts? Anybody?
Question.
Please.
Last week's Parsha.
Yes, please.
I was missing some part. Why did Yaakov not demote Reuben?
Why did he demote him?
Yes.
He demoted him for a few reasons, but one of the reasons was that when his you have to get to the article. The article is very good at giving some information. When his mother Rachel died, not his mother. When Rachel died, which is the main wife really. So Reuven went and took the bed of one of the maidservants and put it into Yaakov's bed room. In other words, let at least the maidservant of Leah, let her have the permanent place there. And that's
I mean,
you shouldn't be mixing into holy things with an intimate relationship with a parent on a good day. And Yaakov, it's too impetus. It was too impulsive, and that's not for Jewish leaders. You can't be impulsive. You have to be thought out well.
I mean, okay. Any other reason, Rabbi?
Off the top of my head, no. But look. He failed in other areas as well. He wanted to save Yosef, it didn't work. So he's making efforts, but it's not. Yehuda's the one who, stepped up to bat, and that's why the leadership went to him. And any other questions, thoughts, comments this week's portion?
Was Moshe circumcised?
Moshe, yeah, Moshe was circumcised. Yes. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? He was actually born circumcised. It's a separate thing. Okay.
How do you get born circumcised?
Thank you. God takes care of it. You're welcome, Jonathan. Take care of yourself. Feel good.
I got to Russia.
You going to Russia? Take it, Diane. Take it, Michelle, Steve.
Thank you again.
Take it. All the best. Feel good. Take care. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good day.
You too. Where are you on?